So some of you guys might be more familiar with what makes up an ASCADA system than others. So I'm going to go through kind of at a higher level, and we're going to work our way down through how the data flows with ZOE in mind. So what makes up an ASCADA system? ASCADA is just Atronics SCADA. So if you're familiar with SCADA, that's what it is. So what kind of makes up the system is you have your base level is a device, a photo eye, conveyor, solenoid, whatever. It's a device. The PLC communicates with that device, usually hardwire, but some devices, Ethernet, TCP, serial, whatever. So it communicates with that device to get information out of it. The device and the PLC, sometimes the device, but most of the time through the PLC, some kind of service talks to that. The PLC talk to each other to get information for sort decisions, for instance. So the PLC gives current statuses or gives it a barcode and then says there's a package here, and then the service will say, hey, you need to be sorted here, and then the PLC will divert that. So, you know, I think most of you guys are familiar with that. The service then puts all that information into the database. The database is a majority of where the service houses that data. So it can be referenced by other services, looked at history, referenced by the HMI, etc. So then ZOE is the HMI kind of on the tail end of that. It's getting all this information. A majority of the information is coming from the database. The ZOE does have other means of communicating. It can communicate with the PLC. For performance reasons, we do not do a lot of communication with the PLC directly. We do all of our writes to the PLC, but all of our reads are through a service and using the database, and we'll go through that in here in a sec. And the reason why is a PLC read is very expensive. It is, especially when you have so much information that the HMI needs, reading that information is time consuming. So it's easier if we have a service collect that information and then broadcast it out. And then the PLC writes, we're only doing that periodically when the operator actually presses a button. So there's not any harm in doing a write every once in a while. Then you also have a WMS, which is a warehouse management system. That's at a higher level. We typically don't go and work in the WM world. Usually that's a larger system that is, working on inventory of a plant. It manages things like orders. So what orders are taken by Amazon or by Zulily or whoever, and what address that package needs to be shipped to. All of that stuff is kind of handled by the WMS, and then that information is passed to a service, typically through different means. Sometimes we read it from their database directly. Sometimes we're passed through just a text file. a lot of times we connect directly. We open a connection directly with them and read information and pass information along directly through a TPC port or something like that. So the WMS gives us information about usually at least basic information, like for this barcode, there's basic information about it, like the carrier that it needs to go to, or
Where?
yeah, exactly. Information to help us determine where. But there's a whole assortment of other information that it could go in. But yeah, a common example is where. And then that service will determine based off of the barcode read where to send it.